guys, Jess from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my March wrap-up. I read 17 books this month, though the first book I read I talked about in my last wrap-up. That was The Wicked King by Holly Black, because I finished it the first day of March, so I talked about it in my February wrap-up. But I do have an additional book that I finished the first day of April that I'm going to talk about here. So I do have 17 books to talk about. I have a lot to get through, so I'm going to go ahead and get to it. I did read a lot of long books. I think I read 4 Black Decker Brotherhood books, and they're like 600 pages each, so really I read like over 20 books worth of pages, but my books were long, so I feel like I should have done better because I was on spring break, but it's okay. I read 17, which is pretty good, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to the books. The first book I read, I do have a full review for, so I'll link that down below. That is The Kiss Thief by LJ Shen. This was my pick what I read next for February. This was a mafia romance. She has these like little slips of paper that kind of like tell her future, and one is that she's gonna marry the person she kisses first, and so she thinks it's gonna be this guy that they've kind of been courting with who is from another mafia family. She's like a mafia princess, and this guy kind of like steals her kiss, so she has to marry him. So it's kind of an arranged marriage, forced marriage, and a very much age gap, enemies to lovers romance. I thought it was pretty good. There were some parts that I wasn't a huge fan of, that I know other people didn't really like, certain scenes, but it was fun. I mean, it was a mafia romance. There's not really much more to it, so I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read actually doesn't come out until June, but I read an e-arc, and that is Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. This one is about a girl named Georgie who is used to not being taken seriously. She's the youngest child, and she is a clown for her job. She's a professional clown, so no one takes her seriously, and she's always been in love with her brother's best friend, who is a professional baseball player. And what happens is he ends up getting injured and ruins his entire career. He's lost. He has no idea what to do. He has only lived and breathed baseball his whole life, so he gets a job with her brother's home renovation construction company, and so it's their romance, and she is the only one who really puts him in his place and kind of pushes him to figure out what he wants to do in life, because he's brooding about the fact that he doesn't play baseball anymore. It's a super cute romance. Georgie's character is definitely very unique and interesting, but I still really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was such a cute romance, and it really picked up about halfway through is when I started loving it. The next book I read was on audio, and that is Trick Play by Max Monroe. I think this is book 4. They're like the Maverick series, and this one is about Cam, who's a football player, and it has to do with a girl he meets at a strip club, and her name's Trixie, and he is immediately drawn to her, really likes her, and she's actually an undercover cop. And so I thought this was gonna be like a really cool kind of romantic suspense, but it just like kind of fell flat. It was kind of boring. She didn't really have a lot of like fun, interesting, like heart-pumping moments being an undercover cop until like the end is when it all happened. So I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I really wanted more because I didn't know a lot going into it, and so when I heard she was an undercover cop, I was like, well, that's cool, and then nothing was really done with that plot line, so I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Sweet Evil by Wendy Higgins. I gave this book 2 stars. I really did not like this. This is about the children of fallen angels, and so our main character doesn't know that she's a child of a fallen angel. She just has this weird ability to like sense emotions and like auras about people. She meets this boy who's in a band, and he is never nice to her. I feel like he has no redeeming qualities. He's like your typical bad boy love interest, but never does anything to deserve her emotions in love, and it's super insta-lovey as well. She's so naive and like to the point where it's really annoying. She like doesn't understand that she's going to a house party at someone's house and their parents aren't going to be there, and they like had someone's sister act like the mom when her adoptive mom called. So it was like, she's like scandalized that like they would do that. She's 16 and she never lies, and so she like lied to someone in a bathroom randomly, and then like 2 seconds later was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I just lied to you. Like, she literally cannot tell a lie, which is like kind of annoying. Her whole character was annoying. I didn't like the love interest. I didn't like how everybody was obsessed with the fact that she was a virgin. Like, the whole book was about that, and there was some things that I was really uncomfortable with the fact that they were talking about 13-year-olds not being virgins anymore. So the whole content of this book I wasn't a huge fan of. I think I would have liked it if it was new adult and the characters were older, but we're talking about 15, 16-year-olds in here, and the characters were annoying, so I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Surprise Baby by Lex Martin and Leslie McAdam, and this is an e-arc I got. Obviously it's a surprise pregnancy romance, and I don't really like that trope, so I went in knowing that trope, so I kind of enjoyed it more than if I didn't know, because I really cannot stand that trope. And this is about Kendall, who is a very successful, like, I think she works in PR, and she cannot stand this guy, and they've had really bad interactions. He's had a really bad past, a really bad reputation, but he's really turned his life around, and so they both are going to a cabin with their best friends who are married for Thanksgiving, and they end up getting snowed in together. Things happen, she gets pregnant, and I really enjoyed it. I was kind of annoyed though the pregnancy doesn't happen until literally like halfway through the book. But we know that going in because it's the title, so I felt like it took too long to get to the fact that like she's pregnant. And other than that though, I really enjoy the characters. I liked how she kind of started to get to know that guy more and like realize he had changed, and he kind of showed her. There was a little bit of miscommunication in the end that kind of got annoying too, so it's probably on the lower 4-star rating, but I feel like it wasn't a 3-star rating, so it was like 3.5, 4-star. It was cute. If you like surprise pregnancy romances, you'll probably like this. The next book of a lot of these books, I read Lover Mine by J.R. Ward. This is finally John Matthews' book. I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. John Matthews was one of my favorite characters. I've been waiting for his romance since like book 6 or something, and I don't remember what book this is. There's a lot now. I'm on book 12 right now, so it's hard to keep track of all of them, but this was really adorable. I loved it. It was everything I wanted out of John Matthews' book, and his romance was good. There were moments that I was just like freaking out because things happened, and I can't say anything else, but it was amazing. 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, I also have a review for, so I'll link that down below, and that is The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I won't spend too much time talking about this. It is a military romance. This girl had twins when she was like 18. She was super young, and the husband is like not a good guy, so he's not in the picture anymore. And what happens is her brother is in the military, and her brother's best friend starts writing to her because her brother makes them because he feels like they kind of need one another to have someone. And her brother ends up passing away, and so his last wish in his last letter was for his best friend to go home and take care of her on leave, and so it's their romance. Super emotional, really good, cried at the end. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. If you like Nicholas Sparks' military romances, you will love this book, so I recommend picking it up. The next book I read was Nuts by Alice Clayton. I read this for Romanceopoly for the category of read a chef foodie romance. Our main character is a private chef in California, and then her mother goes on The Amazing Race, which I think is cool because I love The Amazing Race, and she has to go home and work in her mother's diner until her mother is done, and she is really trying to run away from that place. She doesn't want anything to do with it. She was just like an okay person in high school, not popular, but like didn't really have anybody she wanted to see, and she doesn't really want the small town life. And what happens is the nut farmer, he literally delivers nuts to the restaurant, is the person she falls for. And I, first of all, could not stand the narrator of this book. I listened to it on audio. I had to force myself to listen to it because I needed to read it for Romanceopoly. I was trying to get through it and read everything else I had to read, so I was not a fan of the narrator, and I was thinking really lowered my rating of this, so I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It just felt really slow, like we were slugging through, and of course there were some secrets that were there that I'm just like, this is kind of cliche at this point. Read too many books like this, so 3 out of 5 stars, but I know people love this book, so it just wasn't for me. The next book I read was 44 Chapters About 4 Men by B.B. Easton. This is kind of a memoir. I'm still confused. It says it's a memoir, but parts of this were made up, so it's about B.B. Easton and how she is trying to deal with the fact that her husband is not pleasing her anymore. They're married, and so she starts writing about all of her exes, and so 3 of the men that this book talks about are 3 of her exes. All are like complete losers and totally disgusting, and I don't know why she dated them. While there's Ken, who is her current husband, who works, I forget what he does. It's like something really office job, wears a suit to work kind of thing. He's super successful, and he's like the nice guy that she never thought she'd end up with. And it's her also writing fake chapters because Ken's actually reading her journal, and she's trying to get him to like step it up in the romance game. And so it was really fun, but I thought all of her boyfriends were losers, and I really loved Ken, so I really only wanted to read about Ken. But I really liked it. It was a super fast read, so I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book was a complete shock to me, and that is Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett. This one I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. This is about Bailey, who is in a online correspondence with this guy about movies. They both love movies, and he wants her to come to California at the end of the summer to go to this film festival and finally meet in person. She ends up actually moving to his town and doesn't tell him to move in with her dad because her parents had recently divorced and she feels like her mom is like too busy for her, who's a lawyer. So she moves with her dad and gets a summer job at this museum. One of the security guards there is Porter, and he is infuriating, but they find a chemistry with their bickering. But she starts falling for Porter, and it's really cute, but she kind of still likes the guy that she's talking to, and she's super confused, and it's so cute. I was a film studies minor in college, so I loved all of the film references. I loved all the quotes above every chapter, just the little details like that. I had summer jobs all through college too, working in retail, so I totally connected with her experience. I love this. The romance was adorable. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I could not recommend this enough. So I lied about pick 6. That was book 3 in the Max Monroe series, because I also listened to Fourth and Girl by Max Monroe. This is book 4, and I can honestly say I don't remember a lot about this. I don't know why. I listened to it on audio, and I know this guy is a football player. He's a first round draft pick, and the girl had now I remember. Okay, so the girl quit school with a semester left because she didn't want to go into like accounting or something that all of her parents did, or it's engineering, it was something. And so she has all these temp jobs. Now I remember. And they meet at one of her temp jobs, and she ends up like completely messing up and can't go back, and he can't stop thinking about her. And so then she takes this other job, they end up meeting again, and it's their romance. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. You shouldn't be surprised. It's pretty forgettable plot line. It was okay. I think the ending really went on too long, but it was just like something to pass the time, so I listened to it. Another kind of disappointing read was Carter Reed by Tijan. This I've listened to on audio on my way to DC. On my 6.5-hour drive there, and on my way back I finished it, and it is a mafia romance. Carter Reed is like a huge mafia man, and he has a lot of businesses that he's super successful in. Our main character at the beginning of the book, she ends up killing her roommate's boyfriend because he's trying to rape her, and he is someone that's part of the rival mafia, so she goes to Carter Reed because he was her brother's best friend growing up in foster care. And so it's their romance, and I felt like there should have been more action than there was, even though there was some action, but it just went on way too long. I was super bored by like 75% of the way through. I was like, what else is gonna happen? So I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I wasn't super impressed. None of the characters were really like awesome. It was just okay. The next book I read I absolutely loved, and that was Lover Unleashed by J.R. Ward. This is Payne and Manny's book. I did not expect to fall so hard for Manny. He's one of my favorites now. He's actually human, and he was in Vicious's book with Jane, and so he was amazing. I just loved him so much. He reminded me a lot of Butch's story, and so I think that's why I loved him so much, because I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll just say that. But I absolutely loved him, and so I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was just so good, and that's all I can say because I can't ruin anything, but I love this. The next book I read, I already have a review for, so I'll link that down below, and it was The Unfunny Mooners by Christina Lauren. This book is not coming out until May, but I read it this month. I read it in March, and I already have my review up, and this is about Olive and Ethan, who absolutely hate each other, and circumstances happen that they have to go on their siblings' honeymoon, because her twin sister married his older brother, and they get sick, and they have to take their honeymoon, and they hate each other, but they're not going to give up a free trip to Maui, and so they have to pretend like they're married on this honeymoon, and they hate each other. If you like a good romantic comedy, I think you will love this. I was laughing out loud through it. I wish we got a lot more of Ethan's perspective and just got to know him and how he felt through the whole thing, so I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. It was also a lot of fade to black romance scenes, which is I'm not used to with Christina Lauren, so be aware of that, but I really enjoyed it, really thought it was hilarious, loved the experience reading it, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but like a 4.5 out of 5. It was like a really high 4-star. The next book I read was Up in the Treehouse by KK Allen. I got to meet her at a Polycon, so that's why I read this book, and this one starts out with a girl who is best friends with these twin boys, and she dates one of them in high school, and she's always actually loved the other one. And so we flash forward after like a lot of introduction to 5 years later, and it's her romance with that other twin, and it's super emotional. It's very adorable. I really enjoyed it. I do, again, think it went on a little too long. There was, again, another surprise that I feel like happens a lot as a surprise in books I've been reading. So I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, though. It was really cute still, and I did see that surprise coming, too. Like, it wasn't, like, shocking to me, but I knew, oh, this is what we're going to spend the next, like, 50 pages on. So I really enjoyed it, though. If you want a cute, sweet romance, you should definitely read this. The last two I'm going to talk about are both Black Dagger Brotherhood books. I'm trying to binge them before the new book came out, but it came out yesterday, and I'm not caught up, but I will because I'm going to my event on Saturday to see J.R. Ward, so I'm excited. But I first read Lover Reborn, and this is a certain character's book that I can't say, but it was kind of annoying the whole time. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads, but I think I want to drop it down to 4 stars because, like, his character kind of bothered me, and we got so much of Vicious that I was like kind of annoyed by Vicious, and I wanted to get back to the main couple and try to understand them more. So it was just a lot of characters making a lot of bad decisions because they're very damaged. And it was still good. It was, I mean, like, I gave it 5 stars, but my enjoyment compared to the other books, I think it would be like more of a 4-star read. This one I read the first day back. I read most of it the previous days. I did pick up the audio to try to like get reading, and I love the audiobook. The narrator is fabulous, so if you're interested in this series, check out the audiobooks. They're all on Scribd, which I've been listening to it on, but I'm pretty sure that like Overdrive and stuff has them as well. This is Quinn Lace's book. It was not as satisfying as I wanted it to be because there's just so much angst and they're being so annoying. Both Quinn and Blay made super annoying decisions to push each other away for like a majority of the book, and I was just so annoyed with them, but it was super cute still, and I give this a 5 out of 5 stars still, so they're just like super angsty. This is probably the angstiest book of the series, so it was really cute though, and my copy is matte, which I really like. This is the only one I own that's actually a matte cover, and I don't know why, but there's that. 5 out of 5 stars for this, and I'm currently reading The King, so I'm making my way through them. And they're really, really good. So you should check out Black Dagger Brotherhood if you haven't already. And those are all the books that I have read in the month of March. Let me know down below what you have read. I would love to hear. I am still in the middle of Luna and the Lie. That was my pick what I read next for March, but that book is like over 600 pages. And reading these has cut into my reading time, so I will get that review up probably within the next week. I promise. And I will be reading the It Ends With Us, It Ends With August, Ends With Us, whatever the new Vi Keelan Penelope Ward book is. I'm reading that for Pick What I Read Next. So yeah, that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.